All right, today we're going to dive into something pretty amazing, the story of how our blood actually clots. Let's get into it.
Have you ever really thought about this? You get a tiny cut, it bleeds, and then, just like that, it stops. It really feels like magic, doesn't it? But it's not. It's an incredible, life-saving process going on inside you. So how on earth does it work?
Okay, so whenever you get injured, your body's #1 job is to stop you from losing too much blood. I mean, even a small cut could be a big problem if it just kept bleeding, right? Luckily, our body's emergency response team has this awesome tool to handle it, the blood clot. So what exactly is this thing that stops the bleeding? Well, it's called a blood clot. You can think of it as this reddish, solid material that forms a plug. It literally seals the wound from the inside so no more blood can get out. It's basically your body's own perfect, all-natural bandage. And I really want to stress this point. Blood clotting, the technical term is coagulation. It's not just some minor thing our body does. It is an absolutely critical protective system. Seriously, without it, even the tiniest scratch could be a huge danger. Okay, so how does the body actually build this incredible life-saving plug? It's not just one thing that happens. It's actually a super fast, step-by-step chemical reaction. People often call it a cascade, kind of like a series of dominoes falling one after the other. Let's break down exactly how it works. So here's the big picture of that cascade. It all starts with these little things called platelets. They kick off a chain reaction that involves some key players, proteins named prothrombin and fibrinogen, and the whole thing ends with a strong net made of something called fibrin. Now, let's zoom in on each of these steps. All right, step 1. The second a blood vessel gets damaged, these tiny fragments in your blood called platelets are on it. They're like the paramedics of your bloodstream rushing to the scene. They all pile up at the injury and release this really important enzyme called thrombokinase. Think of this enzyme as the starting gun that kicks off the whole process. And here's where that first domino topples. The thrombokinase that was just released goes and finds a protein that's just chilling in your blood all the time. This protein is called prothrombin. Thrombokinase flips a switch on it, basically, converting it from its inactive state into its active form, which is a new enzyme called thrombin. Okay, so now we've got active thrombin on the loose. What's its job? It finds another protein that's normally just dissolved in your blood plasma, a bit like sugar and water. This one's called fibrinogen. Thrombin works its magic on this fibrinogen and changes it into these long, sticky, insoluble threads called fibrin. And that change, from something that dissolves to something that doesn't, that is the absolute key to the whole thing. And this is the grand finale. These new fibrin threads don't just float around. They link up and create this incredible microscopic safety net. It literally stretches across the wound, forming a mesh that starts trapping all the blood cells that are trying to escape. This tangled up clump of fibrin and cells, that is the blood clot. It's the plug that stops the leak. You've probably seen this before. After a scab or a clot forms, sometimes this clear yellowish liquid seeps out. Well, that stuff has a name. It's called serum. A simple way to think about it is it's the leftover liquid from your blood plasma once all the important clotting stuff and the blood cells have been used up to build the clot. So this whole process is super efficient, right? But there are a couple of things that can really affect how well it works. Let's talk about two of the biggest factors: how fast it happens and vitamins. First up, speed. Timing is absolutely everything here. For a healthy person, this entire chemical cascade we just walked through, from the moment of injury to a solid clot, it all happens crazy fast. We're talking about just 3 to 6 minutes. Now that's a number you'll definitely want to remember. So what helps make sure this process runs smoothly? Well, a super important ingredient is vitamin K. Your liver actually needs vitamin K to make some of the key clotting proteins, like that prothrombin we talked about earlier. So if you have enough vitamin K, your clotting works just fine. But if you don't have enough, it can seriously slow down the whole process, which can be pretty dangerous. Okay, so we've been talking about the best case scenario, when everything works perfectly. But what happens when this vital system breaks down? Well, that's when you get into some serious medical conditions that we call blood disorders. Probably the most famous clotting disorder is hemophilia. It's a genetic condition, which just means it's passed down in families. For people with hemophilia, their body is missing one of the key ingredients, one of the clotting factors. So that whole domino effect, that chemical cascade we just went over, it gets interrupted, it breaks down, and the result is that they can bleed for a much, much longer time after an injury. Now, another inherited blood disorder you might hear about is thalassemia. It's important to know that this one is different. It's not a clotting disorder like hemophilia. Thalassemia is a problem with hemoglobin, the protein in your red blood cells that carries oxygen. So it causes a shortage of healthy red blood cells, which is a whole different kind of blood-related problem.
All right, that was a lot of information, I know. So let's pause and do a quick fire revision of the most important points, especially the stuff you'll need for your exams.
Let's run through the big questions. First, what is blood coagulation? Simple, it's the process of forming a clot to stop bleeding. Next, what's the role of platelets? They're the first responders. They get to the wound and release thrombokinase to start the whole thing. How is fibrin formed? Easy. The enzyme thrombin turns soluble fibrinogen into insoluble fibrin threads that make the net. And finally, what's hemophilia? That's the genetic disorder where blood doesn't clot the way it should. Make sense? Awesome.
And that really is the main thing to remember. The next time you get a paper cut or scrape your knee and watch it stop bleeding, you'll know exactly what's happening. It's not magic. It's this beautiful, super efficient, and absolutely essential process that keeps us safe every single day. It's truly one of the most incredible defense systems our body has.